I spent over 3 years learning game development, starting with zero prior experience, and here's my entire progress from starting and making a stupid little cube, to building small prototypes, to launching a biometric horror game that you can play right now. This game was shown at a conference and even got a little honorable mention for an award, I'm just saying. I mean, I'm kind of a big deal. Growing up, you could always consider me an avid gamer. So it's only natural that eventually I dabble into the art of game development. I wanted to grow past being a level 1 Goo Goo Gaga gamer to a level 100 Mafia boss game developer. But the problem is that I didn't know diddly squat about development. So naturally, I did what any normal person does. I went on YouTube and I looked up Bracky's game tutorial, help me please. Help me. So I started following some tutorials, and these tutorials were definitely helpful. I learned a lot about how Unity works, how game development works, but at the same time, I mean, a tutorial is kind of just you sitting there copying code, and you look away for like 1 second. What, dude? I think I missed a step. Now, before I could make the next GTA 6, I had to take things slowly, and you know, the first project I made was a little game called Penguin Panic. It has been so long since I made this game that I really had to tap in and find the old file, but I found it on my computer. And yeah, you know, this game, it's something. The gameplay involves you, who is a player, and you're a penguin, and basically you just have to shoot stuff. So you have these 3 eggs at the back, and you can go left and right like Subway Surfers. You can click left click to shoot snowballs, and you can click right click to shoot large snowballs. These are slower, and they don't go as far, and they don't do anything different. I don't know what I was thinking with this mechanic. This was also before I knew that Unity has a built-in UI scaler thing that you have to use, so when I opened this game, the pause menu kind of looks like this. And while this game isn't the most glamorous, and it's definitely not winning any awards anytime soon, I learned a ton about game dev, and you know what? I'm proud of this thing. I'm proud of Penguin Panic. I'm penguin panicking. From here on out, I wanted to tap into some more visually appealing games, because this game didn't really look that good. So I went into the 2D space. I tried my hand at pixel art. You know, there's a reason a lot of indie games out there use pixel art, right? It's kind of easy. I mean, it's hard to make it look good, but if you were to ask me to make a game with pixel art versus actual drawing, I'm definitely choosing the pixel art. And honestly, even though I didn't have much of an art background, I made some decent looking sprites. Like, they're not bad. I used pixel art for a couple more games. These games involve a game called Banana Boxer, which is basically a punching game that I made a video on before, and it got 17,000 views, and it's probably one of my worst videos, so shout out to YouTube. And I also made a Breaking Bad game. I'm not really sure why I did this. I think I had a lot of Breaking Bad memes in my feed or something at the time. So in this game, you're Walter White. Yo, Mr. White. And you're shooting Gus with a meth cannon. And that's it. That's like the only mechanic in this game. It's like 5 seconds long. But you know, that's the beauty of game dev. You can kind of just make whatever you want. And it might not be the best quality, but it's fun to make. And at this point, I think it's safe to say I officially leveled up to a level 2 gamer, man. So it only goes up from here, right? But from here, it was time to level up my skills. And that's when I went on to my first big game project, which wasn't even just me. I made it with a couple friends. It's called Dissonance. You know, I had a few months of experience under my belt, so I had to tap in. Dissonance was a whole different story, because this one, I was in a group environment, and we had a deadline, and it was stressful, and my grades were on the line. So Dissonance is essentially a 2.5D interdimensional strategy battler game. You're essentially this little dude. You wake up randomly, and you're in this time vortex, and there's all these different portals. So you have to go to each of these, but they open up different time warps to environments where you can explore, find lore, and they're all in different time periods and eras. And each of these locations at the end of it has a boss. And the fighting system is built off of this little childhood game. Some may call it Wild Wild West, others 007. It involves 3 different moves, either shoot, reload, or block. But you can't shoot without reloading first. So there's this whole thing of when you're reloading, you're vulnerable as well. So you have to kind of time if the enemy has ammo, you got to risk when you're going to reload because you don't know when he's going to shoot. And that's essentially what this entire combat system is. But this game had everything. We had a tutorial, we had a story, we had a lore, we had cinematics, we even had a choice thing where when you beat an enemy, you can choose to spare or kill him, which can affect the ending, which is pretty cool. This game was pretty rough to make, but I was really happy with how it turned out. And if you want, you can play it right now on itch.io. After this, I worked on a couple different small game projects on my own. I remade my first game, Penguin Panic, which I remade it and it was still kind of whack. I did some game jams. For Ludum Dare, I made a game about a little skeleton guy that's on a desert island. You have to chop wood, chop rocks, and expand your island out further and further and keep going. There isn't really an end to this game, but it was super fun to make. And you know, I dabble in a little bit of sprite animation. I even made a networked VR game that you can use on mobile devices and connect different people. But now, let's talk about my next major game project, which was a game called Steel Ball Brawl. This was also another game made in a group. It took around 4 months to make, and honestly, it's one of my favorites. This is a 2-player local PvP game where each player has a side, there's green and purple, and you have a zone, and a bunch of different metallic objects in the middle spawn, so you have to go and use magnetic powers with your ball to attract these objects into your zone. The only thing is, the enemy can also steal these from you, so at the last second, you have to have the most metal objects before the time runs out. Making a local multiplayer game was kinda hell. I definitely learned that user testing is like the most important thing, because there was a certain point where we had people finally play it and it was not fun like at all. The whole last month of development of this game, we basically just had to make it fun. If it wasn't for user testing, this game would have been pee poo poo. It would have been no good. But it was really fun, and we managed to add in some unique mechanics. We have a thing where random events can spawn in the arena, maybe a big windstorm will come and blow all the players away, and it led to some really fun moments where we're testing. Sometimes someone can go into your team zone at the last second and use a big boom power and blast all the metallic objects out and get a last second win. This is definitely one of the favorite projects I worked on. It's definitely one of the ones that I show it to people and I'm actually proud of. That's not a steaming pile of garbage. And you can go download it and play it right now locally if you want. 3 years later, that brings us to the final day and probably my biggest project yet, The Space Between. This game is a first-person horror story game. Oh. This was also made in a group, but this time it was in 8 months with 6 people, and we had a big team, lots of people. Anyway, this is a horror game that uses your real-life heartbeat with an Arduino sensor that we built in real life. It has this little pulse thing that plugs in on your finger, and it measures your heartbeat in real time. So let's say things spook you out a little bit. Sometimes your heartbeat can raise up really high, and all of a sudden a pipe near you will explode and start blowing steam into the air. Or the lights will start flickering and shut off from just your heartbeat alone. Not to mention that there are some monsters in this game. They can hear your heartbeat, which is not ideal. So you want to make sure to stay calm or they'll get aggressive. It's got everything a scary game needs, you know. It's got scary environments, scary dudes, scary bugs. This game is also buggy, by the way, so shout out to bugs. You know, this game taught me a little bit of everything. Project management, sound design, level design, game design, also user testing. And while unfortunately not everybody can experience the heartbeat feature because we're not making a device for you guys, you know, we're not capitalist overlords yet. But we did add a simulated heartbeat feature, which will simulate it depending on what's happening around you. And it is on itch.io if you want to try it yourself and just experience the vibes of the game. You know, we got a little bit of lore, we got some notes around there. And if you just want to see more information on that game, I also have a couple devlogs and even a trailer you can watch about the game. You got to check that out. And that leads me to the modern day, which at this point, I'm working on some big projects. You know, there's a reason why I've been on hiatus. So I got some new games coming up, but best believe they're going to be some bangers. And that leaves me finally, I started as a noob and I ended as a noob, but like with a couple games under my belt, you know, a little bit of experience. But anyway, that's my game development process. If you want to see more, please subscribe. And if you don't subscribe, I'm just going to steal your ears so you can never hear again. So watch out, buddy.